Alrighty, we are finally back. We're going to be recording on the phone and we will be recording on the computer. So today we're going to be talking about how the real estate market will do with the elections that we have for New York City. Pretty much what this means is that what's happening? You know, we got Zoran, we got Andrew Cuomo, we got Curtis Willa, whatever his name is. You know, we have all of these people, but we don't really know them. You know, we've seen everybody, bullshit and speak, but you can't trust them. You know, we have to see actual work and we need to see their actual capabilities. Because I don't know any of them. We've heard lots of topics of Zoran Mamdani and rent freeze and, rent stabilized expansion, but rent stabilized expansion only helps so many people. It only helps so many people. Same thing goes for rent freeze. What is rent freeze going to do to landlords? What are landlords going to do to stop rent freeze? What can we do? Can brokers do? What us brokers and real estate agents, we have to learn all of these because it's very important for us. We need to be on top of our shit. Even for tenants, all you tenants out there, your rent's going to go double because if rent freezes happen and all of these and property tax increases and everything, it's going to be so much tougher for you to be a small business owner and a tenant and a renter. That's why we get a lot of people moving to Connecticut, Florida, all of these different locations, which is, not bad for real estate because real estate's always moving. So you got to follow where the money's going. Now, do we think that real estate's going to die in New York if somebody becomes mayor? I don't think so. But it won't be as good as before. It won't be as good as before because a lot of people want free market homes. They don't want rent stabilized homes because you're not going to get too many tax abatements. You're going to get a mix of shit. So if you're a landlord in the city, what do you guys need to be worrying about? This is pretty much what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about what, Zoran Mamdani is promising I have some notes on my side. It says Zoran Mamdani is promising a multi-year freeze on rents for stabilized units and that he will influence the rent guidelines board appointments to ensure annual rent freezes. So this is something that they promised. Now, do I know all of the facts and natures about this? Absolutely not. I know just as much as you guys know, We're still learning of who this Zoran guy is. I don't know who he is. I've never heard of him other than this year. So let's get right into this. Landlords and developers warn this could be decentivizing maintenance, forced capital flight, and new housing investments. I have developers that don't even want to build anymore. They do not want to build because they know when Zoran comes in or Andrew Cuomo comes in or somebody comes in, they're just going to fucking ruin it like before. So renters and tenants are going to have a tough time because there's not going to be any development and you're going to have the same shitty old housing as before. And there's nothing you can really do about it because this is New York. People have a lot of money. It's tenants, landlords have a lot of money and they want to spend, but I don't know. It looks like it's going to be tough. So Mamdani proposed a 2% tax on income above $1 million, increasing operating corporate taxes. So this is going to increase a 2% tax on people, not people, but people making $1 million plus of corporations. Now, what does this mean? More taxes equal higher rent to make up for those taxes. So tenants are going to be paying higher rent, a lot higher rent. And a lot of people that own property, they're going to start slowly selling their property because what's happening now, us brokers, we need to figure out a solution and a way we were able to, communicate with everybody, all these mayors, because they're not answering the real questions. They're not answering the real questions. They're answering just bullshit ass questions. You know, we need to understand what's going to happen. What's the real estate market going to do? Because real estate's the most important thing in Manhattan. You got a home on every single corner. You got a retail store on every single corner. Now, if those retail stores go away, the city loses money. What happens if the city loses money? Nobody has jobs. What if all those retail fronts close? Nobody has jobs. Jobs start to go down. So you got to understand the effect of a mayor, what they really do to real estate and the job market. Not a lot of people understand that once somebody comes in, or I'm not hating on Zoran, but let's say he comes in and, you know, it's going to be total chaos, you know? All of these interest rates that we have now, 6%, people getting approved for 7, 8, 9% on homes, they're expensive. You know, first-time home buyers are paying more than what they should for a 30-year mortgage. It's insane. You know, it's not normal. This is not normal for people to be paying double of their fucking mortgage. It's not. You know, who wants to pay double? You're paying 7%? What? On a 30-year mortgage, even after you refinance, it's still high. You're probably going to get high 3s. It all depends, though. All depends, you know. If these landlords rent, you know, let's say the mayor, okay, he comes in, he does rent freeze. Now, landlords don't make money. What does that happen? What does, if the landlord doesn't make money, I don't know how rent freeze really works, but who carries the cost and maintenance and all of this stuff? Now, let's say if rent freezes, what's going to happen? Let's say your hot water goes out. You think the building's going to fix it after they freezed all the rents? No, they're not going to fix it. Why would they fix it if you're not paying? Why? They're not making any money. Why should they? Oh, it's because it's their it's their responsibility. They own the building. Yeah, they own the building for paying tenants. Tenants that are not paying don't deserve that. They don't. If you're not paying tenant, you don't deserve hot water or fucking, you know, new appliances or all of this. You know, you're a squatter. Squatters have crazy rights. It's insane what's going on. And, you know, there just needs to be a better solution to all of these problems that we have in the city. And, you know, hopefully we can find a mayor that actually wants to change and actually make this city better. Instead of doing false promises like every other politician ever. You know, we need to see some real improvement. We need to see, you know, small businesses go up more. You know, we need to see a lot more small businesses. Small businesses equal jobs. Jobs equal money. More money for the city equals better opportunities for everybody. You know, maybe they'll cut costs on MTA. Maybe they'll cut costs on buses. Maybe they'll cut your taxes. Who knows? You know, but once you help out the actual small businesses, then you figure out a solution to everything, because more jobs equal more money equal more everything. If the city has, you know, if they're overflowing with money, they can finally fix shit. They can finally fix certain things that need to be done, you know, but nobody thinks like this. You know, politicians are only greedy for money, and they want to help people, but they're not there to help. They're just there to look good and keep a smile for everybody. So hopefully, you know, in this next mayoral election, we'll see something good, you know. So this is pretty much it. I just wanted a small ramble. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. Deuces.